Welcome to the Foster Friendly Podcast, where we come together to make a difference in the lives of children in foster care and the families who care for them. Foster Friendly communities are part of a nationwide movement by America's Kids Belong that helps people from all walks of life take action and help kids and families thrive. You'll hear from former foster youth, foster and adoptive parents, social workers, faith and business leaders, and other experts on how to engage in meaningful ways. Our hosts Brian, Travis, and Courtney explore inspiring stories of everyday people making a difference in foster care where they live and work.
Welcome to the Foster Friendly Podcast. I'm your host, Brian Mavis, along with my joyful co-host, Travis Vogsness. And today we have a special guest, Emily Cole. And Travis, how pumped are you?
I'm beyond stoked.
I think you've been the most excited about this interview. So we're excited. Emily, great to have you here.
Thank you so much, guys. I would assume Travis is going bananas over this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's starting already.
Starting.
Okay, we're prepared for this. We'll roll with you here. Here we go. Emily, before we get going here, that's something I do with all our guests is kind of read an official bio, so our listening audience knows who you are. And so, Emily Cole is co-owner of the Savannah Bananas with her husband Jesse. The Bananas have taken the world by storm. They've added wildly fun innovations to baseball with new rules, crazy antics, and in-game dances. Last year, the Savannah Bananas brought their brand of baseball, Banana Ball, to 29 cities, played in front of 1 million fans, introduced a new team, and played in Major League Baseball stadiums for the first time. In 2025, they will play at 18 Major League Baseball stadiums and 3 football stadiums in front of 2 million fans. Emily and Jesse are foster and adoptive parents and are huge advocates in the space of foster care. Their nonprofit, Bananas Foster, launched in May of 2023 and exists to celebrate the foster care community while educating and inspiring others to get involved. Wow. You guys are not slackers. You're like, what else could we do? Hey, let's foster. So, Emily, welcome. And first of all, tell us anything you'd like to say about yourself that was either missing in that bio or piggybacking off of it, whatever you'd like to share.
Yeah. The business side is always an easy introduction, and that's what most people go to immediately when talking about themselves. Mm-hmm. But really, our family has begun to kind of identify who we are as individuals and as a unit. So it's my husband, Jesse, and I. And we were together for a number of years, building that business before we decided to start the family. And then we had one biological son in 2018. And then now we have 2 daughters who have been adopted from foster care. And as you know, that's never the goal. Our goal was to kind of have children come into our home, and didn't know how our family would look after that. But our first 2 placements ended up never leaving. So yeah. we are continuing to foster a little bit now, but permanently, that's what our family looks like, is 1 son and 2 daughters.
Wow. Beautiful.
I love that. Well, again, so excited to have you on this interview. And so we're going to definitely delve into a lot more of kind of your fostering journey. And then, of course, Bananas Foster and really hear more about that. Before I just had one question about the Savannah Bananas to kick things off. But I do think we need the right aesthetic to visual. So bear with me for 1 second here.
Yeah.
All right. So and Brian, so I think I look like a 60s Russian cosmonaut, but
you look amazing. We have bananas covering the screen now.
Do we have the right vibe going for you?
We do. The vibe. I in my yellow, and you guys have brought your yellow. So
there it is. We're in the spirit. So for this question. But I'm just really curious of the Bananas have been around for a while, and you guys things have evolved, and all kinds of things continue to grow even on a daily basis, it seems. But what now? Where do you find joy and laughter right now with the Bananas?
Yeah. So when we first started, it was just Jesse and myself at a team, and we did everything and we made it work, but it was hard. It was isolating. We would cross over lanes constantly in each other's way, trying to figure out what to do because we both had to do all of it. And then when we launched the Bananas, we hadn't even named the team yet, but it was just four of us. And so it was really small. And there are pluses to working with a small group, but for me, a lot of the joy has come from the people. And we have been so fortunate to be able to grow that number of people, and not just the people who are technically employed by us, but the families that we have now brought into our Fans First family. Fans First is the name of the actual company. The Savannah Bananas are, of course, the most well-known team under that umbrella, but the Fans First family has grown to hundreds of employees. And then now, of course, we have all of their spouses and children and parents and siblings who come to the games and come to events and support their loved ones who have now become our loved ones. And so for me, I'm a people person. And so my biggest joy has been watching that nucleus grow, watching our Fans First family grow, and just the joy that they get to experience every day doing something that they love and being around people that they love.
Oh, I love that. I love the Fans First too. That's I didn't know that. That's great. What a great name. Okay, now we're gonna switch back to more serious.
I was getting a heat rash as well from that. So but yeah, thank you so much. I love that like inside peek into that. Before Brian kind of gets into more of talking about setting up your story more, I just wanted to ask you, I had read Jesse's book Banana Ball, and there was a segment in that where, as he's kind of recounting your own journey into starting, exploring foster care, and then actually the nonprofit Bananas Foster, he mentions this moment where he says the name Bananas Foster, and he said that you got emotional as you heard that name. And what was behind that initial emotion of hearing that?
Well, we are obviously in the creative marketing world. We see the stuff and breathe the stuff every day, and we know that often a good name is what catches people's attention. Foster care has been this taboo topic in society for such a long time. What we're trying to do is kind of walk alongside of that with a little bit of levity and, with the joy that is there. Sometimes there's a lot of hard, but there can be joy as well. And so when he said that, first of all, he's brilliant. And when his creative mind, turns on, you can't stop him. Bananas Foster just clicked, and it was a fun name, and it connected who we are as a brand with one of our biggest passions, foster care. And so it was overwhelming and emotional in a sense that I just knew it would help us kind of catapult this thing into more people's minds with that catchy name and with it making sense, with it being connected to who we were as a brand. I was just really excited for what doors I knew it could open up.
Wow. I love that.
I've never had that dessert, but it looks delicious. And so that will be our call to action at the end of this is everyone go have banana Fosters. Okay, Emily, you already alluded to this a little bit a few minutes ago, but you and Jesse did not take the easy road on this baseball dream that you had. So when you took over Grayson Stadium, you had no phones, no internet. You even had to sell your home to make Savannah Bananas a reality. And in your guys' book, you said, we try to see things for what they could be, not what they are now. And so having that experience, having that perspective, how does those experiences and perspective help you when you were saying, let's build Bananas Fosters, and also when you're connecting with families who are going through hard stuff, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Well, I think that it does help that both Jesse and I are just eternal optimists. And I think that the world is a much more beautiful place if you look through it at that lens. And so we kind of attack everything that way. It's like, oh, you don't want to do this workout? Okay, think about the positive. How are you going to feel afterwards? What's it going to do? There can be positive found in anything. And so, yeah, we went through a lot of hard things at the beginning of our careers. And the mindset shift that we have done within ourselves to constantly look for that positive, I think prepared us when going into foster care, when creating a nonprofit. There's a lot of hurdles, there's a lot of hard things, but there's always good in it. There's always good in everything. And so just having that lens, having that mindset has helped us get through the hard. And so when I go into talks with foster parents, or I'm trying to encourage or just be a shoulder for somebody, it's one of the things that I have to bring up is like, you're not going to be able to succeed in this space if you haven't decided those things ahead of time. If you haven't told yourself it's going to get hard, but there's going to be this, or where's my village? Set your village up ahead of time. Like all the things that you can do ahead of time to make the hard easier. But to expect that it's coming and to look for the joy in it and to look for the positive, it's just how we see things in life. And so it's just been a kind of a theory of ours with creating all of this.
Yeah, there's I love that. And I think there's a powerful exercise that I don't apply to my life often enough, but it's in its most extreme form, as far as like just trying it out, is recall something in your life that you think was bad and painful. And you can tell that story like that. Now the exercise is you have to tell the story again, but you have to find the good in it.
Yeah.
And it's a powerful reframing. And it's I think what you're saying is try to get that reframe not after the fact, but as you're approaching it and as you're in it.
Yeah, we say prehab instead of rehab all the time.
Oh, wait, okay, unpack that. Okay, I wait. Share a little bit more about that. Tell us about prehab instead of rehab.
Just preparing for it. So much of our country, the world, we wait for something horrible to happen and then we try to retrace our steps, or then we try to put in the work, after whatever it is. If we put in a little bit of the work and add some positivity sprinkled in, I believe that we can get through things a lot easier and a lot harder than kind of attacking them afterwards.
Wow.
Have instead of reading.
I like that. Got a new word.
I love it. So, it really makes me think too, what you've learned and what you kind of through both the lens of the Savannah Bananas, and then as as you're fostering parents, that lens, and then looking at foster care. It's interesting as you look at the narrative of foster care, it's either one that seems non-existent for most Americans, or those that it is one surrounded by brokenness, the dysfunction, the complexity of child welfare. There's a sobering line I once heard where they talked about even child welfare is but a thimbleful of water on a raging social fire. Speaks to kind of all that's going on here in a complex space. But what I love is that Bananas Foster seems to be sort of attacking that narrative in a way of saying, look, this is a place that we actually can highlight stories of inspiration and joy. It is a place that there is amazing things happening. And so I love that that's sort of what you guys are attempting to do with Bananas Foster. In another podcast episode, I heard you say that one of the things we really wanted to focus on is staying true to who the Bananas are. You've already said that. Now, we're a brand full of joy. I love that. We're a brand full of joy. In other words, you want to bring that same joy and energy to foster care. So, Emily, as you kind of reflect on this and what you've learned and seen so far, what does it look like to celebrate foster families at games? And then even as we're approaching 2025, what that might look like. How do those public moments that you've seen change the narrative, how people view foster care?
Yeah, it's so good. I could go on about this forever, but we didn't want to start a nonprofit just to start a nonprofit, just for the sake of doing it. There's a lot of causes out there that could have used our attention, right? And we're at the size now that we have platforms. And so we believe what comes with that is responsibility to help with some sort of social change. But, I care about animals, but it didn't fit for me to go out and start an animal nonprofit. It didn't necessarily fit the brand. we travel so much. We don't even have pets. Like, I didn't think that sort of thing fit. Because we are so invested as the founders of the company, Jesse and I are so invested in foster care. And then he comes up with the perfect name, Bananas Foster. To me, that was reason enough to just create a nonprofit. We have the platform, so we have a responsibility to share. We personally are invested in this thing. There was a lot of connections that we could make. So first of all, starting the brand of Bananas Foster was really important to us, that it made sense. It wasn't something that people would scratch their head and be like, what are they trying to get involved in? So it was really intentional in why we started it. And then, yes, staying aligned with who we are as the Bananas, this brand that millions and millions of people have come to know. We do create joy. We have a lot of fun. And so while we could go out there every night, kind of stand up and just spit out the negative statistics and talk about the data that's heartbreaking, and we could do that, but it doesn't fit with who we are. So again, we're trying to stay aligned. We're trying to be intentional on what information we're sharing, how we're going about it. There are a ton of nonprofits out there who are already doing great work in foster care, but what could we bring to the table? We did not want to reinvent the wheel. We didn't want to step on anybody's toes. But if we could go out there every single night and talk in front of a live audience of either 5,000 or 50,000, depending on how big of a stadium we're in that night, plus the millions that are watching, via streaming, we have this platform. Why not go out there and change the narrative, as you said, and talk a little bit about the positive, highlight something that most Americans are not aware of or not thinking about in their daily lives, and just kind of work it into our already entertaining show. So I'm not going to go out there and do a song and a dance about it, but I also don't want to go out there and just spew negative data. And so we kind of came to this agreement that who we could be were the people out there inspiring new people to get involved by celebrating the people who are already doing incredible work, who are usually the unsung heroes who have not gotten any sort of recognition. And so that was that main thought for us when we first started was, hey, let's go to every single game that we have. We're going to pause the game between two innings. Now, you've been singing and dancing and eating. You're having a great time. Vibes are already high. And now we're just going to do something that's just touching and emotional. And we take a local family from whatever city that we're in. We take them out onto the field and we just thank them for what they have done. And that's it. It's so simple, but these stories are so profound that the audience is pausing and often crying because of what they're hearing about going on in their local community. That moment is really special when I'm down on the field and I give the 2-minute spiel about this family. But what's really impactful is when we walk off the field and we're now walking back up the steps, out of the dugout into the seats, and people are coming down into the aisle and stopping and shaking hands and hugging this family and saying, I had no idea this was going on in Kansas City, Des Moines, Sacramento, wherever we are. Oh my gosh. Thank you for doing this in our community for the last 14 years. I had no idea you've had 70 kids in your house. Like, oh my gosh. That part is really impactful. And then the next step is that later in the night, we go in on the back end and we see all of the people that have gone to bananasfoster.org and said, wow, I'm inspired. Thank you for sharing that on the field. We had such a fun night, but that moment really educated me. How can I get involved?
I love that.
Those are the things that have now come from us just trying to take a positive approach to the same thing we're all doing, trying to raise awareness about foster care. But by going about it, I think in a way that aligns with who we are as a brand, fits, and our fans recognize that and they're able to connect with it easier.
Yeah, there's a line in business, an axiom that says you get more of what you celebrate. And that's I love how you're getting more of by celebrating those who are doing it. Love that. So kind of feeding into that, as far as getting more, this is the most of all the fun stuff to read about with the baseball teams. This one blew me away. Is this true? The Bananas right now have a 3 million person waiting list for tickets.
Yes.
That's not unbelievable. Wow. Oh, wow. And this one really resonates with me. And I think I'll see if there's a way I can share a bit of my story with you as we integrate this a little bit. So with this waiting list of tickets, 3 million people, that's nuts. you've shared this incredible dream that you've asked, why can't we create a wait list of foster families? And so before I ask you a question, I'm going to share that your story and my story intersect in a similar way. I back in 2007 was a pastor in Boulder County, Colorado, and got a phone call from a child welfare worker, and she asked to meet about child welfare. And so I said, sure. So this lady named Cindy came a few days later. First thing she said to me was, thanks for meeting with me. I've been trying to meet with a pastor for 3 years. You're the first one to say yes. So apologize that had been her experience. And again, just so people don't think I'm patting myself on the back, it was my wife who got my attention on this issue. And then we went back to my office, shared a little bit, and she said this to me. She goes, Brian, I came here just to tell you one thing. In the 26-year history of child welfare in this county at that time, there has never been a single day, not one day, where kids weren't waiting for families. And I have a challenge for you. Can you help me change you wait? Can you help me recruit so many families who will step up that they'll be on the waiting list, not the kids? And that challenge changed my life. And so accepted the challenge. We helped fulfill it within a year for Boulder County. And then a few years later, the problem came back and we realized we didn't have just a recruitment problem, but a retention one because families quit. So with your dream of why can't we create a wait list of foster families and my dream of the same, what would you say, what do you think is needed and how? And you kind of touched in on this, so maybe you'll just be kind of repeating some of what you've already said, but how's Bananas Foster working towards that wait list?
Yeah. Well, go Cindy. She sounds like
I could tell you more about Cindy. She was a former nun who fell in love with a priest, and they became Episcopalian. I said, love will change your theology. Yeah.
That it will.
That's sweet.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that these challenges can seem really big. They can seem like a mountain that you're never gonna get up. And we at Bananas Foster are so new. We just started in 2023, but we have this challenge, as you said, to ourselves. If we could create an excitement around a sport that enough people in the country sign up so that they wait for years to come to it. We have the attention, we have the platform, we have the followers. Why can we not educate them and also get them to be on a wait list for something else? There's 3 million of them waiting to come to a game. Now, I understand coming to a game, you're biting off a little bit less. It's a pretty easy commitment.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get 3 million people right away on this list, but we're trying to approach it the same way. We're trying to educate and inspire people because, again, we're talking in front of how many thousands of people every single night who don't even know about foster care. Yeah. So even if even if the rate of turning people over to this is 0.005%, whatever it is, we're getting more eyeballs and we're getting more people interested in something that they didn't know about, and we're doing it in a positive way. So that's where we're starting. But yes, the vision is exactly like you said. Why can we not create a wait list in every single community that there are families waiting in the wings, on the sides for that call? We are currently putting kids in homes where the same language is not spoken. They're taking them out of schools. We're taking them across, state borders and making it challenging in every essence for all the social workers, for everybody. Right. If we could just support this enough to get enough people interested and waiting, it would help so many things. As you know, the turnover rate, as you said, the retention, it's so hard. 50% of foster parents in the first year. Okay, if we're not churning and burning through those families because we're treating them better, because we're not calling them over and over, putting 9 kids in their home, but 9 separate cases, we will have more success. Right. So it all comes back to, all of the things that are issues in the foster care world. I think if we get upstream enough, I'm not going all the way upstream where I'm able to stop drug pandemics and things like that.
Right.
There there are other people who are working hard on those things. But where we can come in is getting upstream enough where we're educating enough families and getting them involved so that they are the ones waiting for the kids, so that kids are now matched with a family so that there is going to be a better success rate. We're not going to have kids going back into foster care after being with a placement, disrupted placements are horrible, all of that stuff. And so, yes, we are trying to get upstream enough to at least attack that problem with the number of people who are interested in becoming foster families.
Yeah, there's a line I got from another Georgia woman, not Savannah, but she's in Atlanta, and her name's Leslie. And she says, if we could get enough of these families that you're describing, the goal would then to help the kids keep the most and lose the least, and like keep their siblings, keep their school, their teacher, their friends, and so obviously have a profound impact on the kids, but also the families that, like you said, that they're not being used and abused. I know a lot of these families, the child welfare refers to them as resource families, and you use resources, and so
Absolutely.
it's like, oh,
He's like, lots of hands make light work.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
true in this case. If we just throw our families who could each take one child,
Yep.
yeah,
can you imagine what you could pour into one kid when you aren't worrying about 7 different cases with 7 different therapies, 7 different bio family visits and court hearings? I commend these families who do keep up with all that, but it's impossible to pour into yourself and to pour into every child when you're spread that thin. And so that's the thought, is like, hey, let's just whittle down the work for each foster family by creating more of them.
Yeah. And then the pairings too, when you have so many more people available to help, then they're like, even, it can be paired better, of like, we're a better fit than this family, or, I mean, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that too, like, part of this sort of education awareness piece is what you're talking about, with also just the staggering impacts of when we don't have enough. I think sibling separation is over 50% are separated. Schools move, with each move is like 6 months loss of academic disruption. I mean, everything just continues to compound, and it's just such a giant snowball that just like, we need probably more people to stop the snowball. Like, just let's stop this big thing. So really connected to what you've already said, and on sort of the retention side is, the national study done that showed that 3,000 caregivers found that one of the main chief reasons, not surprising, that they leave is not feeling valued, not feeling seen. It's kind of interesting too to me that, kids in foster care probably largely feel invisible and on the margins, and then the very people that are going to help them in some ways inherit that same sort of on the margins issue that, they are just part of.
Yeah.
But that's something that we as a country definitely can fix and do better. And so you guys are already at work in this. You kind of shared, even just, I got chills listening to you describe what it would be like to follow a foster parent up to leave the stadium and just see what they're seeing. I mean, that has got to just be unbelievable. So, what are some other ways that Bananas Foster is kind of working on trying to keep families feel supported and appreciated? I know you guys have something with potassium care baskets you talk about. Go ahead and tell us about that stuff.
Yeah. So again, we're still new at this and trying to learn where the biggest needs are, or I should say where we can impact the most. But yes, potassium care baskets I'll get into, but the celebrating on the field is so big because they get a moment to actually be recognized. And so our hope is that they feel that, and that holds on for a while. We do include them in a Facebook group that they can chat with other families who have been recognized. And it's fun because our players are in there. They send them videos of encouragement. And so it's just become, we call it our BFFs, the Bananas Foster Families. But it's just this tight-knit group where hopefully you can share. I mean, there's a million Facebook groups and foster care support systems out there, but ours is still intimate, where you could see and talk to other families who have been recognized by us. And then just that interaction with our staff and our players to be that extra layer of encouragement. But beyond that, yes, we've started doing potassium care baskets, which the thought is, okay, if you have not been able to be recognized by us, or even if you are recognized by us, but now another year goes by, court is dragging you down and bio visits are hard and therapy gets exhausting and you have another hard placement, potassium care baskets are hopefully going to be that extra little surge of potassium that's going to pick you up a little bit. And so we've curated these baskets that we send to families. Of course, there's handwritten notes in there from our team, but then there's just things that are simple, like gift cards and things that will hopefully pick you up when you have been to a really hard court hearing and you don't want to go on. You know, that's where that retention, we're at this point of, can I do this anymore? I think I'm going to throw in a towel. I think I'm done. Our hope is that they go home and that's when they open the potassium care basket and they're given that extra surge of encouragement and they remember why they're doing this in the first place and they know that somebody's in their corner. If we could have a potassium care basket sitting in every foster parent's closet so that when they get to that breaking point, this carries them a couple more months. You know, if we could just extend the longevity of a license that much, what kind of impact would that do to the whole system? Because there is just a lot of churn and burn. There's a lot of quitting, and I get it. It is hard. But the things like the potassium care baskets and the encouragement, that's our goal with that, is to just help attack that retention problem.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh man, so much to say about that. And it is going to be exciting too, as you continue to grow Bananas Foster, ripens more. How, I don't know, just you and Jesse are just so infused with creativity and your team and just how, like, I think I just know more ideas are going to come to mind, more connections, to just kind of see new ways to really holistically support foster families and keep them going. And, that's huge. Showing up retention is huge. So, so for listeners who are inspired about, what they've already heard about Bananas Foster and want to get more involved with ways to support you guys in the work there, I mean, what are starting points to help out?
Yeah, so really what we are kind of at our root is we want to be a connector. And so we're not a licensing agency. We're not a foster care closet. Those amazing organizations already exist. But what we do now is we travel the country playing banana ball. And so we have had the opportunity to connect with a number of organizations in every community. And what we want to do is continue to connect with more. Because when we are in that stadium in Oklahoma City and somebody comes up to us and says, I'm inspired, that was an amazing presentation, I want to get involved, we want to have a group of people in Oklahoma City that we can connect them. Because 2 days later, we're on to the next city. And so we are not necessarily going to be the people that hold their hand all the way through. We are going to connect with them and stay in touch with them until they have a new relationship. But that's our goal, is to just connect with everybody who's involved. We've already got a list on our website and we're always looking to add more. So basically, if there is anybody listening who has any sort of foster care organization or contact, we would love to have that so that we can connect the people who we inspire with the right relationship, with the right connections, so that they can then take the next steps. Our saddest moment would be if we inspire somebody and then we don't have somebody to kind of pass them off to get them licensed or to get them into a volunteer opportunity in their hometown. I can't take them all back to Savannah and have them do what we're doing. So that's what we're looking for, just more of those connections, more relationships, so that we can help with this whole web of foster care across the country.
That's great.
It's helpful.
So, Emily, for our listeners who are saying, okay, how do I find you guys? There's your website. You said bananasfoster.org, not .com, right?
Yep.
And then social media, how do they find? And again, to our listeners, two different organizations, the baseball team and the nonprofit. So how do they find you and follow you on social media?
The content is very different. So if you find,
I bet it is.
It's the Savannah Bananas, and it's a bunch of guys dancing or lip syncing. That's not us, but yeah. So the Savannah Bananas are our most popular team. That was our first team, but we are growing. We now have the party animals and the firefighters and the tailgaters. So we have 3 other teams. Wow. And what that is going to allow us to do is to just present about this all of the games. So we decided that Bananas Foster was going to be the nonprofit of Banana Ball, not just of the Savannah Bananas.
Very cool.
When the firefighters are playing the party animals, we're still going to present about Bananas Foster because that audience needs to hear about foster care also. And so that's been exciting that we're going to be able to spread it. I mean, you said earlier that we played in front of 1 million people last year. 2025, we're actually playing live in front of 2 million people.
Wow.
And so that's just all the more people. So yeah, go to Bananas.
That's bananas.
If you go to bananasfoster.org or any of the socials, Bananas Foster, Instagram is where we're spending a lot of our time. And then, I'm just Emily Cole on Instagram also. Happy to connect and help anybody however I can.
Well, Emily, thank God there's people like you out there that are not only have big hearts, but are approaching in a way that is introducing joy and hope, and that you're drawing people in through joy and hope, but also then not there to leave them when it gets hard. And so thank you so much for the fun stuff you bring and the meaningful stuff that you bring too. Thank you.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
It does. It does. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, Emily.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, will you help us reach more people by subscribing, sharing the podcast with a friend, and leaving a 5-star review? If you've been inspired by what you've heard today and want to learn more of how you can make a difference for kids in foster care and the foster families where you live, visit americaskidsbelong.org. We depend on individual donors to fund our work. We'd be grateful if you would consider joining us as a monthly donor. Visit americaskidsbelong.org to make your tax-deductible donation. Thank you. Together, we can ensure a family for every child in foster care and a foster-friendly community to ensure every foster family feels loved and supported.